Okay, folks, we're going to start cooking our Southern style pork and beans. So I have a plate of cut vegetables and some herbs that I'm going to use in the dish. So we have some garlic here. We have a chili pepper here, chili pepper. We have some green bell peppers. We have some green onions, which I purchased today at the farmer's market. We have a sweet onion chopped up. We have a carrot chopped up. And we have a stalk of celery chopped up. And I have a couple of figs of thyme here. We have some thyme here. And we also have some bay leaves. Now, in addition to that, I have the smoked neck bones. I picked some of the meat off of the smoked neck bones, so we can add that to our pot of beans as well. And then over here we have some dry spices. Here I have some ground coriander, I have some paprika, and I also have some black pepper in this bowl right here. And this is what we're going to use to add some dry spices. We have our brown sugar. So this is dark brown sugar. And the reason why I use dark brown is because the molasses are already in the sugar. So they have molasses already added to this sugar here. And we also have a can of crushed tomatoes. These Centos crushed tomatoes are my favorite brand. When you look on the ingredient list, there's one ingredient, and that is tomatoes. I don't know if you can see that there, but that's what you want to. As little ingredients, added additional ingredients as possible in your canned goods, because they do have to preserve it. So we do understand that some canned foods have more chemicals and preservatives than others. And here is our neck bone, smoked neck bone stock that we're going to use to add to the beans as well. And last but not least, we have our beans. And our beans have been soaking overnight, so they're rehydrated now. So they're not soft, but they're rehydrated, so they have a lot of liquid in them now. So that means they'll cook quicker. The reason why I like to rehydrate them as much as I can is, one, it cuts down on the cooking time, and you want your beans to be tender. You don't want them mushy, but you want them tender. The worst thing you can get is a pot plate of beans or a bowl of beans, and they're hard and they're crunchy. So I'm gonna get started on this, and we'll be back. Okay, folks, so I have my apron on now, and we're ready to get started cooking these beans here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add some of this pork fat to the pot here, get this sizzling off here. And what this is going to do is going to give us a little bit of oil in the bottom of our pan so we can saute our vegetables off. And it's also going to add a little more flavor, because I'm going for flavor bomb here. I want these beans to be nice and tasty and flavorful. So we're going to cook this pork off. It's going to take a couple of minutes for it to get brown. We're going to render it down, and all of those fats are going to come out of it. Then we'll get our vegetables started. Okay, folks, our pork fat has rendered down here, as you can see, and we have some oil here in the pot, so now we can get our vegetables going. So the first thing we're going to add here is our fresh vegetables. Here we got the peppers and the onions are going in. We have the carrots that are going to here. We have the celery here. Add the celery to the pot. And gonna let that cook for a little bit. We'll add the garlic and the dry herbs in a moment here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start cooking down these fresh vegetables here. I'm gonna soften them up a little bit. Of course, they're gonna get very soft in the cooking process, but with this with our beans being as rehydrated as they are, this whole pot of beans should be ready in less than 2 hours. So we're going to let these vegetables sweat down for a minute, and then we'll keep cooking. All right, our vegetables are sweating down nice and good. They're getting soft here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start adding our remaining ingredients. What we have here, we have this fresh thyme that's going to go in there. We have the bay leaves, and then we have our chili pepper and our garlic going in there now. Just mix that in there a little. Get that going good. And the next thing we're going to add is we're going to add these beans to the pot. So the beans have been soaked and washed, so they're ready to go in. So beans are in there. And we're going to add our can of crushed tomatoes. I don't know if you guys can really see how good these crushed tomatoes look. I mean, it's not a sauce and it's not really a paste, but it's very flavorful. It's nice and red. I mean, I bought tomato sauce in a can, and you know, when you open it up, it looks like maybe a couple of tablespoons of tomato and water. But this is some nice crushed tomatoes here, so it's going to give us some good flavor to our dish. And then next we're going to add our dry seasonings here. We have the coriander, the black pepper, and the paprika. Sprinkle that in there. Get that flavor in the pot. And then we have the brown sugar, the dark brown sugar, which has the molasses already added to the sugar. So we're going to get the flavor of those molasses as well. And now we have our pork bone stock, a pork bone stock that we made yesterday evening, and I have a video of that on the channel as well. Pour a little bit of that in here, get out the remaining bits of this tomato sauce here, or I should say crushed tomatoes. Crushed tomatoes, and now we're going to add the stock to the pot. Okay, so we're just going to mix this up good here. I like to distribute the flavors through the pot as it's cooking, get more flavor in our beans. And you can see we got a nice red broth here. I'm going to cook these beans down in here. So I'm not going to add this pork meat until the last half hour of cooking. The pork meat is already cooked, so there's no need to cook it anymore. We just want to add it in there, so when you eat the pork and beans, you got that pork and beans together. It's going to give you lots of flavor. So this is going to have to cook for a couple of hours before it's done. So we're going to just let this go low and slow for a couple of hours, and then I'll be back and I'll show you what our beans look like. Okay, folks, beans have been cooking for about 1 hour now. Cooking for about an hour now, and I just tasted them a moment ago. Tasted the broth here. It's very flavorful. I didn't add any salt yet because I just didn't want to over salt, but I think it's going to need a little bit of salt. But you can see these beans here. They're looking good, and believe it or not, they're almost done. I mean, they're not hard, but they still need to go a little bit more. So we're gonna let these cook for probably another 45 minutes, maybe an hour. I mean, we want them nice and soft. We don't want them mushy, but we want them soft. And then we're gonna season it up. Probably gonna need a little bit of salt in there. I got some actually, I bought some San Francisco smoked sea salt. I think I might try a little dash of that in this. And it's looking very good. So we'll be back. Okay, our beans have cooked for another half an hour. And you can hear them bubbling away there. And I tasted a couple of them, and they are soft now. So what we're going to do next here is we're going to add our smoked meat here that we have from our smoked neck bones. So we're going to add this in there. And we're going to add, I got a quarter of a teaspoon of smoked sea salt and a quarter teaspoon of seasoning salt. So we're going to add that here as well. We don't want to over season, so that's definitely what we don't want to do. Because you know you can put salt in, but you can't take it out. So let's just look at, get this stem out of there. Well, I'm going to use my finger, burn myself. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna go back through here and take out the thyme stems and the bay leaves. All right, so we're gonna let this cook down for about another 20 minutes to a half an hour, and then our beans will be ready. And then we're gonna get starting on our plating up this dish. So we'll be back in a minute. Okay, folks, our beans are finished cooking, and I've removed the bay leaves and I removed the thyme stems out of here. And so now what we have is a pot of pork and beans, and you can see, you can still see some of the vegetables in there, which is good. And we have lots of pork in here, which is also good. And it's not runny. I mean, it's thick. The broth or the sauce that's with these beans is thick, so it looks great. And you know, beans go back hundreds of years in this country, and you know, I wonder if they look like this on the wagon trail when the cowboys were cooking them, but they certainly do look good. So we're gonna have a taste here and see what it tastes like. Oh, very good, very good. Not too sweet, not too spicy. We did put one red chili in here, so that's good. And the beans are tender, they're not mushy. So we got a nice pot of beans here. So my plan is to plate this up with some rice. So we're gonna get our rice going, and then we're gonna get everything plated up. Okay, folks, we're back here, and we're gonna cook our rice now. So what we have here is I've got a bag of Carolina Gold rice. This is the Charleston brand. There's another good mill called Anson Mill. They do some good milling of Carolina rice here. So this Carolina Gold rice is rice that was originated here in the Carolinas. Back during the slave days, when slavery was big, the slaves tended the rice crops, and they produced enough rice that it became the #1 export of the Carolinas. So it's real popular now. It's coming back. People are starting to use it more as they understand the history behind the rice. So what I have here is a cup of the rice, rinsed and ready to go in the pot. I have a tablespoon of butter here that we're gonna use in the rice, and I have a half a teaspoon of salt for the rice, and of course we have to have water, so we got 2 cups of water here. So we're going to get this pot going and get this rice cooked. Okay, so our water is boiling now, and I added the salt to the water as well. And what we need to do now is we're going to add our Carolina Gold rice here. Add this to the pot. Add that rice in there. Try to get all of the grains of rice in. There we go. Alright, so we're going to let that come back up to a boil, and then we're going to let the rice simmer. I usually let mine simmer between maybe 7 to 9 minutes, sometimes 10, but I don't want to overcook the rice. If you overcook it, it gets mushy, but we want the grains to be nice and firm as well, and well defined as we put it on our dish. So we're going to let this cook down, get this rice cooking. We're going to add this butter to the rice once it's cooked, and then we're going to get our rice and beans plated up. I added the cover to the rice pot. It's been boiling down for about a minute. I'm going to let it boil for maybe about a half a minute more, and then I'm going to turn the heat down and let it simmer until it's done. Okay, so I set the timer. The rice has been simmering for actually 7 minutes. So it's nice and soft now, well cooked. What we're going to do is we're going to add this butter to the rice. Mix that in there. And actually the half a teaspoon of salt was plenty. So just be careful when you're seasoning up your rice. So our rice is ready, our beans are ready. So the next thing we're going to do is get everything into one plate, and we're going to take a nice picture of it. Okay everyone, our rice is ready, beans are ready, they're in the bowl together. We have some microgreens on top to add a little color to the dish. It's very flavorful, it smells great. This is my idea of pork and beans. So I hope you enjoyed this recipe, and continue to watch my channel. I'll be coming up with some more bean recipes, along with other delicious Southern style food, and even some international dishes that I've been taken to trying to prepare. So stay tuned. Have a good day.